have it go over the edge. And then we'll smooth it out again. Okay. Now we want to ice the sides. So just take your icing, push it right up against the cake. Okay, after you do the sides, there's going to be a lip around the top of the cake. So all you need to do is just gently push it in towards the middle. And that'll help take off the lip. So go back around the cake, smooth down the sides again. Okay, and once you have it on the sides looking nice, go ahead and just smooth out the top again. And then clean up the edges, and while you're doing that, cover up the icing with a damp cloth or paper towel to help prevent it from drying out too much. Okay, and now for the top border, we're going to do something called a reverse shell border. And what that is we pipe a flat shell like that, and then we go in the opposite direction, or reverse it like that. And we just go all the way down the cake. Okay, this is a very popular piping design for birthday cakes in grocery stores and such. Just because it's a really quick piping technique, it uses very little icing because you can just do it really, really fast. And most people can do it actually a little bit better than the regular shell design. And it looks really fancy. It actually makes things, it really jazzes things up. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to make some grease cream just to pipe happy birthday on it, so that way we have a different color. It's just going to be a very small amount. And we're going to color it pink. Okay, so now since we just need a small amount of grease cream for all we're going to do for this is just for the writing. We're just going to make a very small amount. I'm actually going to quarter the grease cream recipe on the website. 2.5 ounces of powdered sugar. 1 ounce of shortening. And then just a teaspoon of water to get things started. Okay, bring it over to the mixer and go ahead and mix it until it's smooth and creamy. Okay, I added a couple more teaspoons of water as I was going to make sure that it was the consistency that I was looking for. So I think I added, maybe about 3 more, so that's about a tablespoon. Okay, we're going to add some pink food coloring. Okay, it's all mixed together, so let's go ahead and take this off the mixer. Alright, let's see if it's the consistency I'm looking for. Yeah, it's a good consistency. It's a little bit radioactive. I may have added a little bit too much pink, but that's okay. It's just such a small amount, it won't matter. It's like it's giving off its own light. It's so bright. Okay, now remember grease cream we used in the Graveyard Brownie episode to pipe the grass. It's a really easy to use icing because there's no butter in it, just shortening. So you can control the consistency really well because when you're piping and working with buttercream icing, it's got a lot of butter in it, so it can be melted by your body temperature really easily. Shortening, however, melts at a much higher body temperature, a much higher temperature altogether. So it won't melt at body temperature, so you can work with it, and depending on how much water you've added to the powdered sugar, depends on the consistency. So you can really control it really, really well. Okay, and remember that we're going to put our calla lilies on this cake. So go ahead and get an idea of where they're going to go, and then using, mark off in your mind where you're going to write the happy birthday and all that. For this kind of cake, you don't want to put the calla lilies on too soon because it's white calla lilies and chocolate icing. So if something happens, it can really mess up your flowers and it can look like a total mess. Plus, this icing is so soft and has so much moisture in it that it can really soften up your gum paste flowers. Normally, you really don't want to put gum paste flowers on until you're right about to serve it, just because you just absorb water or the moisture really well. But for a chocolate cake, it's just, you really don't want to get smudges on your flowers. Okay, so I'm using the Wilton 3-tip again. I'm just going to pipe happy birthday. Alright, and this cake is for my friend Amanda. So we're gonna, and she's turning 30, so we're gonna pipe happy 30th birthday, Amanda. If you ever have like a chunk of powdered sugar or something, maybe shortening, that didn't get mixed up for one reason or another, it can really mess up your piping. Just go back to where you were and carefully start back up. I kind of think of it like, I played one of those like really cheap plastic clarinets for one of my general music classes, and my teacher said, whenever you are messing up and you're not keeping up with the rest of the notes or something, I forget what it was, but the point was, every time you blow a note, you actually use a more forceful blow as opposed to just blowing, so you go pfft, as opposed to. So when I think of piping, when I mess up, I kind of start the same way. I kind of like try to ease into it as opposed to starting off with a more punctuated dot, like how my H's have a more punctuated dot. So if I start in the middle, I kind of try to go softer, using a softer touch, so that way it looks like it's blended together, and I did it on purpose. Okay, and it's Amanda, so... Okay, and there you go. This is our yellow butter cake covered in fudgy frosting. Okay, and if you remember, a couple episodes ago, or a couple parts ago, the beginning, the first part of this, we made the gum paste calla lilies to put on top. Now, I ended up making them into a bouquet and tying them with a little ribbon at the bottom. But I'm not going to put it on just yet, like I said. I'm going to keep it separated so that way they don't absorb any of the moisture and they don't get chocolate all over them. Plus I want to tweak the calla lilies because they're not all facing the same direction that I want them to be. But basically, when we're finished, the cake's going to look something like this. If you can see, it's a little bit of a weird angle, but... So it kind of classes it up. So we went over a lot during this three-part episode. The first part we made the wired calla lilies, so you learned how to make wired gum paste calla lilies. The second part we made the yellow cake, a very popular cake. A lot of people have been requesting it. And then this, the third episode, which was today, we made the fudgy frosting, which is kind of similar to like the Duncan Hines icing that you see on the box. It's a very basic icing, very quick, very easy to whip up. Usually a lot of people have the ingredients on hand. And it's a lot easier to make than chocolate Italian buttercream. It's still sensitive to heat though because of all the butter and the chocolate. So if you have hot hands or if you're trying to cook in a hot or trying to ice in a hot kitchen, it's still not going to work. So keep that in mind. And we also just piped on some American buttercream or grease cream, the same kind of decorative touch that we used in the Haunted Graveyard Brownie episode, just to do some piping. I would avoid icing a whole cake with this grease cream just because it has a really super sweet taste, but it's also made with shortening, so it doesn't have a kind of the melt in your mouth texture that a lot of other icings do, like the Italian buttercream, Swiss buttercream, and even this fudgy frosting because of the butter. So remember, if an icing has shortening in it, then it's not going to have that melt in your mouth feel the same way as something that has all butter or all butter and chocolate. But anyway, I hope you learned a lot, and remember, the Aubergine chef, demystifying dessert one recipe at a time.